So we sell as the recording appliance and some of the networking infrastructure for a complete surveillance network. We've partnered with Axis, which is the leading network camera manufacturer in the world, and utilizing Axis Camera Companion configuration software, we can set up an entire complete surveillance network in less than 5 minutes. We're actually going to show that in a demonstration. And moving forward into the agenda of our activities today, and I'll speed up to try and catch up the time lost. And I really do want to encourage everybody to stay for the demonstration, and we're going to spend the majority of our time there. Before we get there, we'll quickly talk about all the different components in a small to medium scale surveillance network. We'll also talk about the raffle where we're giving away an entire surveillance network. So all the components that we're going to talk about today, we will give away, which is about $1,800 worth of equipment. So do stay towards the end so you can be in that drawing. We'll talk about the 2 Buffalo NVR products. Each one of those products has a couple different capacity configurations. So there's a pretty flexible and diverse assortment of products from depending on price points, capacities, and numbers of cameras. We'll also talk about network design considerations, what to think about when you're designing a network, and then some of the tools that are provided by Axis that can help you design that entire network, from cameras to network video recorder capacity, etc. Buffalo also makes PoE switches, and PoE stands for Power over Ethernet. It's a great technology that allows you to actually run an Ethernet cable from the PoE switch, through walls, through ceilings, and actually power the camera off of it, as well as provide a data network. So you don't need an electrician to run AC or have code violations with extension cords or anything like that. I will very briefly touch on another product from Buffalo, which is our TerraStation 7000 enterprise storage, and it's really good for those of you who maybe already deployed an enterprise VMS. VMS is video management system. Or are looking to deploy something in the 50 or 100 plus camera range. We can provide a lot of disposable storage for those cameras. We'll conclude with some target markets for our NVR solutions, and then we'll get into that demonstration. We'll set an entire network up from scratch, and I'll actually show some remote access to a similar network I have running at my home. And then finally, we'll have a Q&A. We'll also be answering Q&As, or Bill, our Director of Sales, will be answering any Q&As as this goes. So feel free to answer questions. We'll answer them live, and then at the end, with remaining time, I'll read some of them back, and we can get into a live. So going into the components, our goal with Axis cameras is to provide a turnkey surveillance solution, really for up to 16 camera installations. So if you look at all the equipment on the right, that's really all you need to create a network. Basically, what we need is Axis network IP cameras. We need somewhere to record the content to, which in this case is the Buffalo NVR storage appliance. We need the Axis Camera Companion software, which is free software, works with Axis cameras as well as our NVR. That is a free download. There's no licensing. And even though a PC is pictured in that system, it's important to note that PC is not in any way involved in the recordings. So that could be somebody's laptop. It doesn't have to be a PC server that's running all the time. You just turn that on if you want to do live view or access recordings. But once you turn it off, the cameras are continually recording, doing motion detection, doing all the advanced network recordings that you would expect. And then you need some form of a network. You could use anything from a standard home network. Obviously, PoE comes into play. Axis has Wi-Fi cameras. Buffalo also has Wi-Fi access points and routers. We won't talk about those today, but any standard networking apparatus that can move, IP packets will work. And there are remote viewing capabilities, obviously, for the PC through Axis Camera Companion, as well as numerous iOS and Android apps. And I'll briefly show a picture of one of those later. As I said, it's one of the more compelling webinar giveaways Buffalo's done, but with cooperation from Axis, we're giving away everything in the green box, which is 2 M1054 cameras, which are actually very nice cameras, 720p full duplex audio, so you can actually maintain a conversation with somebody over them, which is kind of cool, or like I like to do, screw with my dogs. There's also an LED light that you can turn on and off remotely, which is nice if you're in a dark spot. I happen to have one of those cameras in my garage, and at night I can turn on the light and see if the cars are there. You'll also receive a Buffalo TerraStation, which is our premier NVR, 5200 and 2 terabyte configuration. as well as a 5-port gigabit PoE switch. So 4 gigabit ports, or 5 gigabit ports, 4 of those being PoE and 1 being uplink. So that combined value is 1,800. So do stay towards the end, and wish everybody luck with that giveaway. So keys to our solution is really dependable, easy, and scalable. So we have an established engineering partnership with Axis. We're an authorized partner in their technology partner program. So it means that our products are tested against their cameras, and both manufacturers strive to make the technology work and work very easily and dependably. All of our Buffalo NVR products have been overbuilt for the NVR and recording world by using premium hardware components, extra heavy-duty power supplies. We do have the embedded support for Axis Camera Companion. All of our products in the NVR family use an IT technology called RAID, which means we use dual drives with mirroring. So if a single hard drive fails, you'll still be able to access your recordings and take in new recordings. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And that's something you won't find in a lot of the cost-effective NVR, DVR solutions that are out today. And then a very simple out-of-box experience. Everything's pre-configured and ready to go for that 5-minute installation. So starting with our premier product, the one that's in the giveaway, it's our TerraStation 5200 NVR. Comes from our TerraStation 5000 line. It has 2 hard drives in it. This is designed for up to 16 cameras. And when we say 16 cameras, that means 16 cameras running 1080p, which is more or less the highest resolution available. There is 5 megapixel and other things like that, and we do support those. But we're tested up to 16 cameras, 1080p at 25 frames per second. With the exception of like Vegas, gaming, casinos, and that type of application, majority of installations do not run 25 frames per second. In fact, 15 frames per second to the naked eye seems like full, full motion. So majority of deployments use 7 to 12 frames per second, or some mixed configuration like 24/7 365 recording at 1 or 2 frames per second, and then motion recording at 12 to 15. But anyways, as you can see, our product is over-tested for the average use case. We do have 2, 4, and 8 terabyte configurations. Again, we have the less than 5-minute deployment. We have that RAID 1 redundant storage, which gives us enhanced reliability. There are some independent studies that say a single hard drive DVR or NVR type product, and this would also include something you might get from DirecTV for your home DVR, or Dish Network, Comcast, Time Warner, any of those types of DVRs. But 80% of those hardware failures come from hard drive related failures. So when you have a single hard drive failure and that fails, as if anybody's had that happen with your TV DVR at home, it takes the entire equipment off network. In my particular case with the DVR I have, the entire system runs off the DVR. So not only can I not record and access my recordings, the entire device simply won't boot. So with 2 drives in there, even if a single drive fails, the system runs and continues to record on the other hard drive, and then you can repair it at ease. And in this case, we support hot swapping the drive, so you have 0 downtime for that maintenance. So not even a frame of video lost during this. Even when you ultimately get there the next day to replace it, you put it in there and it'll resynchronize itself. No data loss, no downtime. These are scalable solutions, and the MSRPs for these are about $900 to $1,500. Moving to our slightly more cost-effective solution, which is the LinkStation 420 NVR. This is designed for up to 8 cameras, still at the 1080p 25 frames per second spec. It's available in 2 and 4 terabytes. The setup is exactly the same. It does have the RAID 1 storage, so you have that built-in redundancy, but it does not support quick swap. So in the case that a hard drive fails, you'll continue to be able to take in new recordings and access recordings at will. But when you do replace the hard drive, you want to power the device off, remove the broken hard drive, insert the new one powered on, and then it'll automatically rebuild off that drive. So in that case, you're looking about a 3-minute downtime, but that can be scheduled at your convenience. Similar scalability, and the price range for this is about $500 to $650. Since there's only 2 capacities, it's basically the price of each of those capacities. And this will be available in the coming weeks. So one last slide just to kind of cover up everything, because right now the TerraStation 5200 is available, as well as this is the one that's in the raffle. We support up to 16 Axis network cameras. But we really support almost any Axis IP camera. anything that supports firmware 5.40 or later, which is majority of the Axis lineup, and anything that's been released in recent time or in the future. So you can check that, and the Axis website will allow you to search by, Axis camera companion support, etc. But it's presumably almost all of the cameras. There's some older legacy ones that aren't compatible. There is the redundant dual drive technology, which is the hot swap hard drives that are configured in mirror. Even if you're running 8 HD cameras running 24/7, 365 at full frame rate, this will give you past 3 months of continuous recording. Now, most people don't do continuous recording; they do motion. Most people also don't do 30 frames per second or 25 frames per second. So that 3 months is a worst case situation. In a lot of deployments, we can surpass 1 year of storage retention when you start using motion detection or a lower frame rate, continuous, etc. We do have heavy-duty components. Sorry, there's a little bit of a clipping in the PowerPoint there, but all of our products, including LaneStation, have a 3-year warranty. The TerraStation is eligible for an optional 5-year enhanced warranty, which gives next business day replacement. And we do offer free lifetime tech support in the U.S., and we do have a special phone number and hotline for these products that focuses more on security deployments rather than IT deployments. And you can see the capacities listed below. We spoke about designing this in, and I wanted to provide a reference to a great tool provided by Axis, which is called their Axis Design Tool. Obviously, you might be jotting down that URL now. We will have this PDF uploaded on our website within a day, but you can actually just Google Axis Design Tool in Google, and it'll come up as the first hit. And it's a very nice piece of web software, so you don't have to download anything. But if you're looking at the image below, that's what it would look like in your browser. And you'll be able to add cameras by pressing the plus button, or edit existing cameras by using the gear wheel. And you can configure the cameras. So in here I have 8 Axis M1054 cameras. It gives you a variety of different scenarios. And you don't need to own products to do this. I encourage everybody to just go to this website, browse Axis's website, pick a few cameras that kind of look interesting to you, and then configure them in this design tool. And you can tweak the frame rate, the resolution. If you're using motion detection, they give you a preset 6 or so scenarios, like a schoolyard, a very busy subway, a less frequented reception hall, and those kind of all give you different formulas for motion detection usage. Over in the blue area, and I just named this after a fast food restaurant for fun, you press settings, and you go ahead and go in there and you put the amount of storage you want, or the amount of days you want. So in this case, maybe 31 days. If you want to have 31 days of recording, you put that in settings, and when you go back to summary, it'll apply what those 8 cameras bandwidth is and tell you how much storage you need. So in this case, which I believe is 31 days of 8 cameras running relatively high frame rate, will require 2.65 terabytes of usable storage. Now, since we do use the RAID 1 mirroring feature, one mirror is one drive is a complete mirror. So take note of the red area above, which shows the usable capacity of these devices. And there is a little bit of overhead there, and then hard drives are marketed, decimal versus binary. So, 1 terabyte is really 931 gigabytes. But with 2.65 terabytes, you would want 4 usable terabytes. It's pretty simple math there. So you'd want the 8 terabyte NVR product. For switches, Buffalo offers 3 PoE switches. The ones on the left are fully managed switches. So if you have anybody with IT background, you might know what that means. It means you can even isolate the surveillance network through a VLAN. You can do link aggregation. The TerraStation 5200 supports that. You get full management capabilities with those at Layer 2 with some Layer 3 features. Additionally, they have the high-power PoE ports, support up to 30 watts per port. So you'll see a few of the larger Axis cameras, usually with big pan, tilt, zoom motors, will require higher power ports. You can also power cycle those ports remotely. So if you think a camera might be hung or any other device might be hung, you can actually power cycle it remotely through the switch UI and even determine if it's a camera problem or not. Again, a 3-year warranty on those. And then we have a very cost-effective, sort of for somebody who doesn't need management capabilities, we have this really cost-effective sub-$100 5-port switch, 802.3 AF, so it's 15.4 watts per port. Gives you 4 PoE ports, and then you use that 5th port to connect back into your main network. And obviously, you can purchase multiple ones of these. If you had 8 cameras, you can purchase 2 of these, which would still be more cost-effective than the managed switch. And obviously, with 16 cameras, you can purchase 4. The one on the right, because it's an unmanaged switch, it is completely silent. The ones on the left are rack mountable, and because of the high power, do have fairly large and relatively noisy fans, kind of more designed for being in a rack. So be mindful of that. And then finally, our TerraStation 7000. Again, if you have an existing VMS using even one of the top VMS, softwares, like IP Configure, Genetec, Milestone, ONSSI, any of those, and you're looking for increasing storage retention, or maybe you're going to add new cameras and you need more storage, our 7000 boxes can basically come in as raw storage for an existing VMS. We support up to 72 terabytes. We have quad gigabit per second support over 4 gigabit Ethernet ports. That is teamable and you can run link aggregation on them. We also have 10 gigabit support with Intel and Emulix cards. So there's plenty of I/O there to support countless cameras with an existing VMS. And you can see the price points for those are fairly large range, starting at 24 terabytes all the way up to 72 terabytes. So finally, we'll go back to the NVR solution real quick. That's really our target of today's webinar, which is sort of the sub-16 channel. And I'm not, in no way is this an endorsement of the customers that are specifically using the solution, but it's just examples so you can sort of visualize what type of customers would be interested in the solution. But retailers are obviously a great fit because every corporation has some corporate policy on recording. But it's not cost-effective to design a $10,000, enterprise VMS and then all the other peripheral stuff that's required for, 10,000 fast food restaurants. Smaller bank branches, same thing. Lots of recording being needed. You want something that's dependable, something that's high quality. The Axis cameras and the Buffalo NVRs are of utmost quality. And then smaller, health and medical clinics. And that's not to rule out, if you have high-end consumer homes, larger homes that want a really, really advanced network, or small businesses, just about anything that fits into the sub-16 camera, so small warehouses, etc. What we're going to do now is bounce out of the PowerPoint for the moment and set up this complete network in 5 minutes. I'll get back to the other slide in a moment. So what I'm going to do actually first is to show you sort of what I have on the network. And unfortunately, there's a lot of other Buffalo devices on the network. But I have this link station that's named Link Station NVR, and it is in factory default settings now. So if I actually log into the unit as sort of a standard user, and this is not required. I'm showing right now that there's basically no configuration, and I'll show you what happens before and after we run the automatic setup that we've worked together with Axis on. But if I go in here, I have my default folder, which is just one share, and I'll show you in a moment there's nothing in that. And I just have my default user, which is the admin user and the guest user. And you're going to see how our technology works. And I guess I should have probably prefaced this earlier, but we've worked with Axis on an automatic setup technology that allows deploying this in 5 minutes. If we did not have this cooperation and partnership, you would be having to do a lot of configuration through this UI, setting up different users for each camera, setting up quotas, then you have to be setting up cameras individually and mapping it all together, and it would be a cumbersome task and one that would be difficult for somebody who's not intimately familiar with all of the moving parts. But what we have here, again, is a perfectly empty share. As you can see, I just have this Axis share. There's nothing in it. So this is where ultimately our recordings are going to go. We're going to go ahead and set that up. So the cameras are also in out-of-box configuration with no recording. So I'm actually going to run the Axis Camera Companion software. And to reiterate again, you don't even need to log into the cameras or the Buffalo NAS to set this up. All you need to do is run this software. If you don't have existing sites, and we're going to actually log into a remote site later, it'll actually automatically start with this create new site. And everything will be done through this program and UI, and you actually never have to technically log into an Axis camera UI or a Buffalo NAS or NVR UI. So I'm going to go ahead and call this webinar, which is just the name of my site. I can also use this PC, as you might have seen, to manage multiple sites. So if you have a bunch of customers, you can manage them all from this PC. And you can export that PC and even save it into the cloud. So if you have multiple PCs, all your sites stay synchronized. So we went ahead and just give it a default password. When I press next, it tells you to go ahead and connect the cameras. Designed to be very easy. We've already done that. So I'm going to press next, and it's going to go out on the network and find every camera that is not recording to something. There's a couple cameras that have, non-standard passwords, so they're not in a non-standard configuration. But these 4 that I set up earlier, which are the M1054 models that are given away in the raffle, it's found these 4 that I set up this morning. They're automatically checked. Now, if I only wanted to add 2 of them, I could do that. But for the sake of this demo, we're going to add all 4 of them. I'm going to press next. And it's going to say there's no storage configured for this. So we're going to go ahead and connect network storage. This is where the Axis and Buffalo synergy comes in. It's actually already discovered a bunch of devices on the network. Obviously, in the Buffalo office, we have a handful of them. But it's that link station NVR that I want to use. So I'm going to select that, press next. It's going to ask for the admin password for this device. I'm just going to use the default, which is admin and password. We'll put it in the default share. So if you are using this for other purposes, you would see those other shares there. But in this case, we'll just have one. And it's going to go ahead and test the share. And this is where the APIs and the strong integration of our technology is working together. What's basically happening is this PC's Axis Camera Companion software is talking automatically to our NVR product, determining how much storage is available, determining how many cameras we're going to add, which in this case is 4. And it's actually configuring all this right now, so I don't have to do it manually. And it's going to create a profile for each camera, and it's actually done. So I'll continue my conversation in a moment. So it's set up the entire NAS now. I'm going to press next, and right now it's asking me just to verify everything. So all these cameras are going to go into this Axis folder, and we're going to press finish. Now note this is finished. This is the end of the setup. What it's doing now is telling the camera that's logging into each camera behind the scenes and telling it exactly how to record to our device using each camera's own user account, which already has a set up quota. Now if you don't use quotas, what will happen, and this is true of any network storage device, once the device runs out of space, the cameras will not be able to write there anymore, and that'll be pretty much the end of the network, and you'll be all done. In this particular case, we set up a quota which tells the camera, in this particular case, once you've used up your 25% allotment of the space, go ahead and start grooming on a FIFO basis, which is first in, first out, meaning that go ahead and delete the oldest recording so we can keep recording. That's all set up. So actually, after I pressed finish, it completed that, and it's actually dumped me into the solution. So now the whole network's set up. It's actually already recording. I don't need to log into anything. I can increase my thumbnail view here. I apologize. Obviously, you're not going to see the full frame rate that I'm seeing, which is 30 frames per second. Through GoToMeeting, it'll be a little bit slower. You see a few people walking, but I assure you on my screen, this is a full motion. And what I'll do before I tinker around the software is log back into our unit, and I'll show you everything that happened. Again, you wouldn't do this in normal use cases, but the curious people might be interested. When I click on users now, I haven't refreshed the page, so it still says 2 users. It's now actually going to show 6 users. So these were created automatically because of that API and all of the testing Buffalo and Axis have done together. And actually put in the note that it was automatically created by Axis Camera Companion. It's also taken, with a little bit of a conservative headroom, about 22% or so of the entire storage. Now this unit is 1 terabyte usable because it's a 2 terabyte in mirror, and I'll come back here in a moment. So when I look at the usable capacity of this, it's 916 gigs of actual usable, and that's because, again, hard drives are marketed at a 1,000 byte rule instead of a 1024 byte rule. That's an industry standard thing. So it's basically going to use about 90-something% of the storage. That gives you a little bit of room in case you put a few other files on there, just to make sure nothing goes wrong. And if you are an advanced user and you do have one camera that you want to maybe use more storage and have more retention, you can just very easily now click in here and edit these. Maybe you can make one 307 and one 107, so long as the total kind of remains consistent. But that's all been automatically set up. So I go in here, it's already got a password set up, it's got its quota enabled. And the key point is the user would never have to even log into this. They'd be up and running in 5 minutes. And if you are an advanced user and you want to tweak things, it's actually better to let it run through its course and sort of get it set up, and then you can tweak accordingly. But I'm already in the live view. Going back to the software here, I just pointed cameras around. That's actually the back of trying to wave for everybody. Thumbs up, and there's Bill waving. So you can see the recording going on in real time. We'll go ahead and go to the configuration tab, which is pretty interesting. You can see everything about the camera. And even as a novice user, you're already into this login. Everything that you need to do is pretty much in here. So you can enable audio recording if you want, just by clicking that button, and audio will start recording. And if you want to do continuous, which basically means 24/7 recording, you can click that. If you want motion detection, you can leave it by default, because that's what most people use. You can actually use both at the same time. It does provide puts more load on the network and NVR, but a lot of people will run both and make the continuous a very small frame rate, just so they can always prove that they're recording 24/7, and then put higher quality motion. You right-click on it, you can actually go in and edit the motion recording. So we're actually running 15 frames per second motion recording. You can toggle the motion detection sensitivity. We can go in here and create an exclude area. So maybe if you have a tree that's always going on, you can actually sort of just box it in however you want. It's kind of a cool tool. You can add and sort of many polygons as you want. I'll go ahead and cancel that, so we don't do that. But that's pretty much it from the configuration standpoint. If we go into continuous recording, you check that, and you get different recording profile for that. We'll call this camera Brian and Bill. It's very easy to rename something. Call this one outside window. Ceiling, I can kind of go as fast as possible. We'll just call this office. When I go back to live view, now that's all referenced in the camera. Go to the quad view and see all four in real time. So pretty well thought out software. We'll go to the recording pinwheel here, and I can use my mouse scroll or zoom in accordingly. I can click here and go back to a certain day and time. Of course, we just started recording, so there won't be anything there. We'll zoom in here. Anything that's in a red block means motion was detected. If we had continuous motion, you would also see a blue bar where there was no motion to signal that. So maybe we can see if we can catch our wave. But I can basically click anywhere into this red tab, press the play button, and there's some, actually just the slide changes here, and there's the wave, are signaling the motion. So I assured you we didn't wave again. You can forensically go back on YouTube later and compare those waves. But that's pretty much it. So you've got all of that there. If we actually log in here now, you can actually see the raw recordings if you want. So even if you didn't have Axis Camera Companion installed, you can sort of log in. This is the date, 2014, July 29th, 15th. It's 3 o'clock. This folder started at 3:40, and you can actually see video, and that one's still being added to, but there's somebody walking into an office there, so you actually get the raw footage off of that. So it still works like a traditional NAS for the IT-centric people.